Although Bob Marley wrote and sang many songs about standing up against the tyranny of white oppression, within the Bob Marley biopic, the revolutionary aspect of the man has been removed and his ideology of love and peace are amplified, thus making him appear as being a one-dimensional man advocating only love and peace to the benefit of the system of white supremacy. To believe that the white establishment would finance a film that would be seen globally by millions of black people and not insert their white self-serving propaganda into the film is extremely naive. From the perspective of the white establishment, to not have done so would have been foolishly against their own self-interest. The white establishment often reshapes the image of our heroes in ways that serve their system of white supremacy. White social scientists found that doing so is necessary to prevent black resentment from rising up against a white society, given their brutal oppression and exploitation of black people throughout history. This is deemed necessary. The same was done on a larger scale to Dr. King. Within all biopics about Dr. King, only certain speeches are allowed. Within all movies about the life of Dr. King, his speeches condemning the white society are excluded, while only those advocating peace are presented, thus making him also appear as a one-dimensional man advocating only love and peace to the benefit of the system of white supremacy. This is the reason why many black people are shocked when seeing for the first time those videos on social media platforms in which Dr. King is seen strongly condemning the white society. Even if you go back and watch the Malcolm X movie starring Denzel Washington, if you compare the speeches used in the film to his countless other speeches, you'll notice that the speeches used in the film are the least potent and have been watered down to ensure that black movie audiences don't leave the theaters resenting the white society. Movies and TVs are the tools used by the white ruling class to keep the black masses thinking and behaving in ways that serves and protects the system of white supremacy. Most people naively think that movies are made for nothing more than entertainment. That never was the case. The greatest social messages are promoted through movies. Within movies depicting black historical figures, white producers also often insist that fictionalized white characters be added to the script. Here are some examples of the practice. Actor-director Danny Glover was seeking funding to make a movie about the Haitian Revolution. However, white producers refused to fund the film because it lacked white heroes. They said that they really liked the project, but would only fund the movie if Danny Glover added fictionalized white heroes. The white movie makers are always trying to control the telling of our history in ways that make themselves appear as being lesser inhumane throughout history. Mr. Glover declined and the project was denied funding. This practice also was done to Don Cheadle, the Oscar-nominated actor who produced, co-wrote, and starred in Miles Ahead about the story of Miles Davis. White producers refused to fund the movie until Cheadle created a fictional white character to act as his friend and mentor to Miles Davis. It wasn't until he wrote the part of a fictionalized white character and cast actor Ewan McGregor in the role that he got the green light for the project. Another example of this trend was clearly seen in the movie Cry Freedom, starring Denzel Washington as the slain South African anti-apartheid human rights activist Stephen Biko. If you've seen this movie, you are aware that the movie was in fact less about Stephen Biko and more about the white newspaper editor that befriended him. In fact, the main character of the movie was the white newspaper editor. Even Denzel Washington himself expressed being both surprised and disappointed of how the movie was edited to be more about the white newspaper editor than it was about Stephen Biko. A rebuttal commonly used by white producers is that their decisions to add white characters in key positions are financial decisions to make the film desirable to a larger audience. But that's merely an excuse, because the white roles that they often insist be written into the script are often filled by white actors that doesn't have very strong box office draws. They're often less famous than the black lead in the film. The reason these roles are created is primarily to put forth their message that exemplifies their white race. In the movie Hidden Figures, the white director Theodore Melfi defends adding fictional white savior characters to the movies by saying that there needed to be white people who do the right thing, regardless of the fact that they weren't a part of the true story in real life. Can you believe he actually said that? He did. This ideology is held by most white filmmakers and white historians. Whenever whites tell the history of black people on film and in our history books, they always rewrite facts to make their racial group appear as having been lesser immoral and more humane throughout history than they truly, in fact, were. And in doing so, they've given their racial group a favorable image makeover. It's the true reason why so many black people are now so enamored by white people in spite of such a brutal history of the contrary. Black audiences are also being manipulated to think in ways that serve the white society through fictional black movies as well. This was the case with the Marvel's The Black Panther movie. It is intentionally filled with propaganda that serves the system of white supremacy. In the film, the black revolutionary that's trying to liberate his people, Killmonger, is portrayed as the villain. They even had the black revolutionary character viciously murdered a black woman that appeared to have loved him. Furthermore, the white CIA agent that shoots down an aircraft, killing black pilots trying to deliver weapon to aid in the black liberation movement, is portrayed as being a heroic moment in the film. When the CIA shot down the aircraft, black audiences cheered, not realizing that they were cheering against their own self-interest. The Black Panther film was seen around the world and grossed over $1 billion worldwide, and it was expected to have done so. To believe that the white establishment would have financed a film that would have been seen globally by millions of black people and not insert their white self-serving propaganda in the film would have been extremely naive. From their perspective of the white establishment, to not have done so would have been foolishly irresponsible. Social engineering through movies is not a conspiracy theory. Since images and information directly influence our thoughts, then through movies they're able to instill thoughts into the subconscious minds of black people while we think we're just being entertained. Most people naively think that movies are made for nothing more than entertainment. That never was the case. The greatest social messages are promoted through movies. Social norms promoted through films can influence the way of thinking and the cognitive map of the populated audience. In a normal conversation, when using logic and facts, your guard is naturally up. But when you're watching a movie, there's no debate. Your guard is down. The sensor part of your brain is not in action. It isn't saying, yes, I agree with this. No, I disagree with that, as you would in a debate or a conversation. You're actually in an alpha state, being completely downloaded with the ideas and images. Through this movie programming system, millions of black audiences are being manipulated to think in ways that serves and protects the system of white supremacy. Millions of black people have in fact been socially engineered through movies to revere Caucasians in spite of a brutally horrific history to the contrary. It's how the white society protects itself from massive unified black retribution. It also allows the white society to covertly continue its ongoing subjugation of the black masses without any black resistance. This movie's subliminal programming system provides the white establishment with a more socially acceptable and covert method for controlling and subjugating black people. The U.S. government has also been directly funding big budget Hollywood movies to form public opinions for many decades. The Pentagon has had a hand in sponsoring Hollywood films going all the way back to the start of the filmmaking in the 1920s. Interestingly, Pentagon's support of filmmaking likely shaped the type of movies we got throughout the first half of the 20th century. When one considers the effect that cinema has had on shaping the culture, it's not a big leap to suggest that Pentagon subsidized for filmmakers might have very well helped shape parts of our American culture. Not until in 1996 did the CIA announce with little fanfare that it had established an entertainment liaison officer, which would collaborate with filmmakers. Heading up this office was Chase Brannon, who served in the CIA for 25 years under its elite clandestine service division and as an undercover operations officer. You know, the more that you learn, the more that you realize just how idiotic it is to believe that our minds have been shaped by silly slave syndrome myth. It is time to wake up to our reality. It is time to wake up to our reality. All these things that we're seeing in our communities that we're saying, oh, it's a Willie Lynch myth, it's a slave syndrome, it's a generational curse, are all the results of social sciences that are being deployed against us through the white society's monopoly over information that we receive. Please, it's time to wake up. One love and peace.